Hey, my name's James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about this week's property news. It's another busy week. There's so much happening in the world of property constantly at the moment. We're going to talk about interest rates. We're going to talk about house prices. We're going to talk about mortgage valuations and much, much more in this video. Now, if you're new around here and you haven't done already, do make sure you subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. We're on the way to 46,000 subscribers. And by subscribing, you'll get all the latest house price news, interest rate news, property investing news, and much, much more. And let's get some views on this video. How do we do that? Your part's simple. All you need to do is smash like, tick or like, do something to that like button. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and that really has helped the channel grow. So thanks to everybody that does that. So another busy week in the property world. Even with the summer holidays, even with Parliament being closed, there's a lot still happening in the market. And I think it's just going to carry on that way. In fact, once everyone is back to work in September, I think there's going to be even more stuff being hit our way every single week. So what's happened this week? Well, firstly, I want to talk about down values. This was a video that we did, and it was a really popular video. It was basically brought about by brokers, lots of brokers saying that their valuations that they're getting back are coming low at the moment. So what does that mean? Well, that means that maybe you agree to buy a property for £300,000. The seller's happy with that, you're happy with that, the estate agent's happy with that. But when the valuer comes round, the surveyor, they say it's worth £275,000. Now, if you're a buyer, sometimes this can be good, because if you're in a new purchase, you can go back to the seller and say, well, it's not worth as much as you think. I can now only pay £275,000. Now, you've got two things that could happen there. The seller could say, okay, let's move the price down if that's what the valuer is saying. Or they could say, look, I'm not selling less than £300,000, so you'll have to top up your deposit in order to be able to afford the property. That's something that is happening quite a lot at the moment. And so these conversations and battles are going on, and that sometimes means deals can fall apart. It also can get complicated if you maybe have a buy-to-let property and you're refinancing that property, and maybe the value hasn't gone up at all recently, and then you get downvalued, and now in order just to keep the mortgage, you've got to get an extra deposit put into that, or as some people are doing, find a totally new lender, get an extra valuation from another lender, because your options are you can fight the down valuation, but in my experience, that never works. In fact, my broker says the same. They said that if you try and fight it, these surveyors don't like to admit that they're wrong, and so you're not going to get anywhere. So your best option is to start again with a new valuer. So down values is a big thing this week. We made a longer video on that, so do check that out on the channel. Next is rent rises. Had a few content videos on this week because there's a lot going on with rental rises at the moment. You see, what's happening is a lot of landlords have quit, and the amount of properties that are for rent at the moment are equal to April 2020. Think about that. In April 2020, people weren't thinking about looking for new property because it was very hard to move because we were in a lockdown. And so people didn't go to do viewings, and it was very difficult. And so if we're saying that's the amount of stock we've got on at the moment, that's not good. And so RICS, the surveyors, the chartered surveyors, they basically did an analysis on this. They said the amount of rental stock at the moment is at a 5-year low. Their expectations are that rents are going to go up quite considerably by the end of the year. And if you recall, last year we had 10% rental increases, and at the moment we're rolling at a 6.7% annual increase at the moment. So it could get back up to 10% increase by the end of the year. Now, that does worry quite a few people because you've got the Renters' Rights Bill going through at the moment, and you could easily get it added in there, rent caps. And if that happens, you'll get even more landlords leave the market. So rent rises are something that we've covered multiple times on the channel this week. Do go and check out the more in-depth videos on that. But yeah, it's not looking great. It's not looking great, especially for tenants. What else have we got? Well, we're starting to see the Financial Conduct Authority, the guidance from the government was told to relax the lending criteria that lenders have to follow. And so that got a little easier so people can borrow more money. And so lenders, for example, Santander, I did a video on Santander this week. They've made it that a couple that had a combined salary of £125,000 last week, that would have allowed them to be able to borrow £556,000, which is not insignificant. That's a pretty good property you could buy with that, even in the southeast. Up north, you could buy a mansion with that. But now they've relaxed the lending criteria, Santander, and you can borrow £687,000 now. Now, of course, you still got to go through all the mortgage testing and stuff like that to make sure you can afford it. They'll look at your income and expenditure. Now, this could be good news for someone that doesn't have a car on finance, doesn't go on expensive holidays, doesn't eat at restaurants. But likewise, you also get people that do that stuff, but have toned it down just a few months prior to getting a mortgage, and then they're expecting to go back to that lifestyle, and they might overstretch themselves here. Now, this isn't as easy to get a mortgage as it was prior to 2008, but I do think that you are going to see house prices potentially go up a little bit because of this, especially the middle of the market. So this is basically saying that you can borrow an extra 24% that you couldn't before. So that's interesting to see. We made a detailed video on that one, which I think is definitely worth checking out as well. Other lenders are doing the same. Nationwide, Barclays, other lenders are allowing people to borrow more money. That's interesting, and we'll see how that goes. The most controversial video of the week was 20 years of rent. 20 years of rent that you can get guaranteed by Welsh councils. So in Wales, they had a scheme, I think it's called Leasehold Wales. And so the lease scheme Wales, something like that. If you watch the video, it'll go into more detail. It's one of the most watched videos on the channel this week. More than 10,000 people have watched that. And so basically in Wales, they had a scheme where landlords could rent the property to the council. You would have no voids. You wouldn't have to pay for insurance. You wouldn't have to pay for maintenance. You could also get a grant to refurbish your property between £5,000 and £25,000. You could rent them the property for 5 years or 20 years. The rent would go up each year as well. And you wouldn't have agency fees. You wouldn't have voids or anything like that. Now, some people got a little confused on this video. It's not for immigrants necessarily. The goal is to reduce the social housing lists in those towns. They do have other schemes that are specifically for immigrants. So this is something slightly different, just to be very clear on that, because a lot of people were getting quite annoyed about that. It's not specifically for immigrants. It is potentially a good thing, because councils otherwise would be paying for people to be in temporary accommodation. That costs taxpayers more than double what it would to put them in kind of social housing on this route. So this is a better route, and this would save taxpayers money, and it also would give people better accommodation and more stability as well. Do go and check that video out. Do put your comments on there as well, or you can carry on the conversation here as well. Interesting stuff, and I think that if that goes well, which it looks like it is in Wales, because it was piloted in a couple of councils, and this week 22 new councils rolled it out. So I think you could start seeing things like this happening in England. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you got this far in the video and you didn't earlier, do like it and subscribe. Next, 2-year versus 5-year mortgages. 2-year versus 5-year mortgages. Now, these have come down. So for a while, for 2 or 3 years now, 5-year deals have been cheaper than 2-year deals. That's just how it's been for a long period of time. Since the mini budget, when Liz Truss was in way back when, Now, for the first time for a while, 2-year deals are now slightly cheaper. The average 2-year deal is 5%. The average 5-year deal is 5.1%. So there's not much in it, but it is starting to move towards the fact that 2-year deals are slightly cheaper. The analysts are saying that this could be due to the fact that now some of the mortgage companies feel that you're going to get a drop in interest rates for a short period of time. You're going to get to 3.5%. And then the Bank of England might have to go back up to 4% because inflation is really sticking around here. So interesting stuff. 2-year versus 5-year. We made a detailed video on that. Do check that out. And lastly, I want to talk about pet insurance. This is in the Renters' Rights Bill. This is frustrating. A lot of landlords, people are really annoyed that you can't force a tenant to get pet insurance. You can't get an extra deposit, definitely. At one stage, they were saying if you have a pet, you could get 2 weeks extra rent as a deposit to give you a bit more security. So a company has come out. They've created some pet insurance. It's £130 a year. Gives you £2,500 in coverage, separate to your normal landlord coverage. I think it's a decent policy and it gives some people some peace of mind. Likely what will happen is the rent will go up by £130 a year, but it could give you that peace of mind and allow you to open the market to more people. And that potentially is good for tenants as well. So look, busy week as always. Let me know which was your most interesting story, and do go and watch those videos on the channel. How you can get to those is if you click where it says Property Accelerator below, then sort by videos, you can see all the videos in the last week. And if you haven't done already, do make sure you grab our new ebook, Mortgage Secrets, How to Get the Best Mortgage Deal in 2025 and Beyond. 1,600 people, I think it is now. It was 1,500. It ticked over 1,600. It might even be 1,700 by now. Have grabbed this. It's totally free. All you do is put your email in below. I'll put it in the description and in the first comment as well. Also, like the video, subscribe, check out all the other content as well on the channel, including this video right here.